This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, it is 6 p.m. I will now call to order the June 10th meeting of the Easthampton Commission. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously via remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. An interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, but the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Cassie, do you have any other housekeeping items to cover?
Yes. So the next scheduled meeting is June 24th. If there should be an issue, we do have to continue, just so folks understand. And then if people want to make public comments for particular items on the agenda, you'll just need to wait until the chair opens that item up for public comment, and then we'll be able to take time to do that. For folks who are online, I think almost everyone here is for an item, presenting an item. But if you're online and you'd like to make a public comment, you can use the raise hand function to indicate that you want to make a comment, or you can send a message in the chat and I'll put you in line for that. And then for folks who are in person, you can just raise your hand once we open it for public comment, and we'll go from person to person. You have 5 minutes per comment. You can make multiple comments, but you'll just get back in line after 5 minutes, so everyone gets a chance, if that makes sense. So that will be the process. Does anyone have any questions? So we're ready to go? Or?
And if you are online and you leave the meeting at some point, please make sure not to end the meeting for all, or we will have to continue all of our items. So please pay attention if you're leaving the meeting to what button you press.
Yeah, you only have that authority to make you a co-host. So
good.
But that has happened. So
all right, excellent.
We'll try to manage that.
Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items?
I don't see anything indicated online on my end, and I haven't received anything before the meeting.
All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings and meetings. Our first item is a public hearing for a notice of intent filed by Fussin O'Neill on behalf of the City of Easthampton for bank stabilization and stormwater management improvements on Emerald Place, map city right-of-way /135, lot city right-of-way /242. This is Mass DEP file number 1510329. And I will be recusing myself from this item because I am an employee of Fussin O'Neill. So I will excuse myself. And if someone wants to come get me when you're ready for the next item, I will return.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I see we have someone here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larissa from Fussin O'Neill. I'm a resource engineer. I was here previously. The last time I came, we kind of went through the project, but we had not submitted our stormwater report yet. We had submitted a 50% design plan last time. As of last week, we've been updating the plan as we go along. I think I said this last time, this is an MVP project, so it's due June 30th. So on June 30th, we will be submitting 90% plans to MVP, the grant funding organization. So hopefully we can get anything with order of conditions, incorporated into that 90% plan is our goal. Sorry, I was, lost my train of thought too. In last week, we submitted about a 75% design plan. So if we remember, I was talking about how the soil nail walls along with slope stabilization wasn't quite accurate. And so the plans have been updated to depict what's actually going on the project accurately, based on design changes. I also have Diane Rossi from the city engineer with me, and she is remote. So if we have questions, she's also here.
Would it be most helpful if I put the 75% plans up here, or the letter describing the letter? Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Second, everybody.
So this, we've kind of walked through it last time. I have them if we want to go through certain specific spots. But this is just the overall site plan. We've got a pedestrian bridge up here that we're proposing for a multi-use path, brand new road the whole way down, 1 lane. So a change from 2 lanes both ways to 1 lane from Clinton Street all the way up to Lincoln Street. It's actually Lincoln Avenue, one way northbound, and then it's double way, 2 lanes here. And then we have stormwater outfalls. There's an existing, sorry, it's not shown on this plan. There's an existing outfall right here under existing conditions as 24 inches. We are increasing that size based on 2070 year flows. And then we're also adding a stormwater outfall approximately here where there's an existing pipe, as well as down here to kind of relieve the sediment and erosion control problems that we're having along the slopes. Okay, so Cassie had provided us with some comments that we talked about at our last meeting, and we responded. Do we want to go through them, or how, I guess, do you guys have new questions?
No, I think we should go
What's the best
through
way
the
to-
things that we had questions on that you said you'd come back to us with, so we should probably
Sounds
get
good.
those, yeah.
Okay, so comment 1 was about the additional, will there be additional runoff down Ferry Street because we are curbing this whole area? And I apologize, the applicant response is actually doesn't quite address this question. So I'll address it here in person. So from Clinton to approximately Lincoln under existing condition, this area is not curbed. But from Lincoln all the way to Ferry under existing condition, this area is curbed. And there's a relatively flat portion of the road right here. So by adding 2 outfalls and then increasing this outfall, we should be keeping the runoff to Ferry Street as it was under existing conditions, or minimizing it at that point. Okay, I'll keep going. Comment number 2 was about cutting the geogrid for the slope nail, for the nail installation. Decrease of stability to stabilize, and how many can we actually do? So since we last met, we went out to the site with our with the soil nail installer, and also with our landscape architect, and looked and with the city, and we looked at the tree canopy, and we talked about which trees it makes sense to save. And we've selected about 8 to 12 trees, and we recommend that in the order of conditions, we can have those trees actually get flagged about which ones will actually be saved. The soil nail installer recommended that we do not cut the geogrid as much as possible. And so instead of cutting the geogrid and wrapping it around, they recommend that as the installer is going, they will actually wrap around existing trees and then keep going. So I think it'll be, maybe you would have one and then, you know, the next piece of geogrid.
Okay.
So that's what they recommend, that we try to limit cutting. So it was good to have the installer on site and actually seeing what was going to be happening. What was the rest of the question? So how many trees? And I think I answered that later as we move down to the next questions. Provide a timeline for the work. So this will be very funding dependent. So we imagine that the project could be in 3 separate phases. The pedestrian bridge could almost be its own phase, because it's very independent of the road working happening. And then Ferry Street to Glen Cove, that's where the large outfall is. And this is the majority of the location where the soil nail installation is happening. And it's really recommended that that be done in one phase. So we see this as being a second phase. And then the third phase would be from approximately Glen Cove Place all the way down to Clinton Street.
Okay.
And that's more of our typical, you know, not simple, but typical roadway project, whereas this is going to be a little bit more complicated. Okay. Possible impacts to wildlife habitat. So we answered this with that there's no notable habitat features with the project site. We are going to be removing invasive species and replacing them with native species along the slope. So that should result in long-term habitat improvement in the area. There will be temporary impacts on the forested slope along Lower Mill Pond. Temporary impacts due to slope stabilization activities are anticipated to displace small mammals and birds that may inhabit the area. But those will be temporary. And then has the city identified any particular trees to be saved along the slope besides those really big specimens further down the street, or determine any parameters for how to decide what to cut and what to remain? So that's what I was talking about before, that we went out there and we found approximately 8 to 12 trees in this area that could be saved. We are prioritizing native species over Norway maples wherever possible, and also ones that are going to protect the natural tree canopy. So thinking about the tree canopy, and then we're also, I think I have that in here, but we are adding approximately 10 larger tree specimens on the opposite side of the road, north of Glenclove Place and south of Ferry Street. And the purpose of those is to add some tree canopy along Emerald Place. Great. Planting plans requested with a general inventory of existing invasive species and their prevalence. So right here, we have 2 areas that have larger pieces of invasive species. We have the Japanese barberry stand in the green, and then in the lime green is the Japanese knotweed stand. And then honestly, the rest of the slope has a lot of invasive species in it. So some of those include Asiatic bittersweet, garlic mustard, swallowwort, and multiflora rose. And they're located along the entire path of the forested side slope. So there will be an aggressive management of those invasive species with replacement by native species.
Yeah,
Thanks. No, you're fine.
zoom back out a little. There we go.
And then the snow storage plan. So right now, under existing conditions, the city is trucking snow in larger storm events. Is trucking snow from this bank so people can park here, and they're bringing it to this apartment parking spot and placing it in the center. Okay. And so that will remain under existing or under proposed conditions. Because there is no other feasible location along this roadway for significant storage. And then Cassie, if you want to scroll down a little bit.
Yes.
I feel like there's a little bit more to that. Nope, there's not. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that covers most of the questions that we had, right? There was one other question about ADA compliance and dam safety. Was that something that was?
I remember, if I can, someone had asked if the new bridge, because they're proposing a pedestrian bridge along Ferry Street, if it would be ADA compliant and how up and over it would be. I think maybe Sarah, you had asked about that potentially. I don't remember. Sorry. But I don't know if you want to speak.
So no problem. So yes, the bridge is definitely designed to be ADA accessible. And it is going to be in the same time period of this June 30th deadline. We will also be applying to Office of Dam Safety. We've had pre-application meetings with them already to go ahead and request that permit.
There's no negative impacts to the dam, I guess was the issue that was discussed. So yeah, okay.
Yep.
So that's it. Any other questions from commissioners?
Well, let's see. So the drainage report now, do you want to just walk us through the drainage things? We're at 75%. We have the report.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to start from the north. I just realized these are, I guess I'll do it the way we've been. So here's the north, right? So Emerald Place, and we have the multi-use path, and that's the bridge. We've also elevated, I guess, thinking about stormwater, we're elevating it above the base flood elevation so that we are staying out of FEMA regulations. So all the yellow, as I go down the road, all the yellow is stormwater. So this stormwater is heading towards Ferry Street as it does today. And then this orange here is the soil nail wall. And so you can see that it's only extending 12 feet, whereas before it extended all the way to the base. And then, maybe I'm sorry, I am going to turn it. So coming back from the north, and so we're heading down, we get to Glenclove Place. This yellow line here you can see is the stormwater coming from approximately this direction heading here. We have a a bioretention basin right here under existing conditions. That's where that low, there's a very large low spot under existing conditions that's all paved with a catch basin. And then from the south, this portion from Lincoln Street is going to be collected along this new storm sewer and then draining into this existing outlet. So this existing outlet control storm sewer is a 24-inch, and it's not labeled on here, but I believe it's a 36-inch that we're putting in. And we're upsizing that for increased runoff from future conditions for 2070 flows. Moving farther down along the street. So we just, it's, the yellow is a little bit easy to see here. So we're kind of thinking about this watershed, this smaller sub-basin right here. So now the next sub-basin is going to be one of the new energy dissipator pools that we're proposing that are going to be a set of rock boulders that go along the slope here. And that's this watershed right here, new stormwater pipes, or new storm sewers draining to this new rocky outfall. And there is an existing 12-inch pipe there today. And so we'll be replacing that. And this is where the slope is already seen. There's a very large gully right here that's seeing significant erosion. So formalizing that outlet. Then as we keep going farther south, so moving farther south, we have the first of our, actually, I apologize. This is going to be also heading that way. We have a bioretention area here. We are not infiltrating along the side slopes because they're steep. And so it's not recommended to be infiltrating on steep side slopes, but we are going to be slowing down the water and treating it and then allowing the overflow to go back into our storm sewer. So that one's heading to the north. And then here's that third watershed system. There's two bioretention rain garden areas right here next to the formalized outfall. And then here's the new stormwater. This area is where the city has experienced washouts and a significant, I want to call it a pothole, but a significant
Sink.
Yeah, a sinkhole, thank you. Right here along the side of the road. And it is because there's just a significant amount of water coming from Clinton and Emerald Place, Emerald Lane, and there is no formalized location for it. So we're hoping to slow down the water here, and then knowing that there will be a significant velocity, we've again are proposing these step pools. So that's kind of the overview. And then we've sized all the storm sewers for the 2070 10-year storm event. But we've run HydroCAD analysis for, I can't remember what we put in the report, but for many different storm events, from like the 2, the 10, the 50 to the 100 for both existing conditions, like current conditions, to 2070 flows, to show that we're meeting the stormwater standards and reducing or meeting those flows.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody knows a HydroCAD model before.
It is a very, very large subdivision. So thinking about that, this project is the beginning. This is like phase 1 of New City. So last year we developed the HydroCAD model that has all the nodes in it. And that was for the conceptual design of the entire neighborhood. And then the city, as funding becomes available, they would like to do street by street different sections and add in infiltration practices and green infrastructure throughout the whole neighborhood. The other big purpose of this design, we're talking about the stormwater issues, but also all the utilities are over 100 years old. So thinking about replacing the sewer and the water and formalizing the drainage. So it's a little bit safer for residents.
So the overall concept is that there's not new impervious surface being really added on the large scale anyways.
No,
we're
actually reducing impervious surface.
Yep. And there's an increase in outfall size and the addition of some outfalls, but it's just to better manage the stormwater runoff that's already happening. And it keeps that stormwater basically going to the same, like, receiving water that it's going to now. It's just happening a little bit differently.
Correct.
Okay, so it's a redevelopment project, following the redevelopment, performance center is what I want to say. I know that's not right, but you know, you get it.
Right.
Yeah. And the redevelopment provision of the stormwater management standards, and there's an operation maintenance plan that you've developed, and there's a little bit of a peak flow reduction too, I think, right?
Yes, there is peak flow reduction. And as you talked about the operation and maintenance, it'll be fully performed by the Public Works Department here at the city. Trying to think of any other standards that would jump out. Those are kind of the big ones, especially the peak flow rates.
Yep. I don't know, like the cascades.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking through the drawings. I didn't see like a detail on those. Maybe I missed it.
You didn't. So we're still working on the details
Okay.
for those. If you reference the stormwater report, as we talk about the the step pools, there is like a preliminary detail for those, and those will be prepared for 90% plans. But they are large boulders that have been sized, and the idea is that there will be large boulders, and it will come into a settling pool, large boulder, another settling pool, large boulder. However, we recognize that the velocity here is pretty intense, and so the actual settling during a large storm event may not be actually happening. However, that will help with scour. And those rock boulders and scour counter protection measures were sized.
Yep. Is that detail something that will be completed through the 90% design that's
Yes.
happening in the next 3 weeks or something like
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Correct.
Oh boy. And then there's, yeah,
Could we,
The stormwater report? Do you want me to-
yeah, would you like to see it in the stormwater report to put that on the screen? Would that be helpful
I
or?
noticed it in there, but I couldn't
Okay.
quite. It was a little blurry.
Do you remember what page it is?
I
Of the
don't,
report?
and if it's
No.
blurry, I don't know if that's gonna be
Yeah.
very helpful to see it up here.
I think you're looking for page 11 of the PDF, I believe.
Okay, hold on, let me see.
It's
Have
the rock cascade and energy dissipation pool design profile.
No, we're looking for a detail though. That's kind of,
That is-
oh, that's what we
yeah.
got. Okay, hold on a second. I can share this.
So it's 11 of the PDF.
Thank you. Oh, here we go. Got you. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Let's see when we zoom in how fuzzy it is. Yeah, but you can see here, the idea is that you have these boulders that are coming in as the flare down section comes. You've got a cascade pool, or settling pool, I guess. And then the rock cascades. And then a stone apron at the bottom.
Yep. And so like the one we're looking at now, there are a couple that are similar, but this one is where the many steps is where that really big.
It's actually, yes, so this one I believe is only 2 steps, which is interesting, but it's because that we've formalized this and we'll have larger storm sewer here. The other one that's farther north, I believe, has the 3, yeah. It's the 3 steps,
Okay.
which I think is what we're looking at here.
The one at the bend has the 3 steps just south of Harrison.
Anything else?
Yeah, so I guess, so at this point, it's nearing finalish design, then the funding is done, then it's the city applying for more grants and figuring out how to finish it and, bid it and what phasing and all that sort of
Right.
stuff. Yeah. So, I guess if we were to,
We need to rough out some conditions also. I don't know, Cassie, if you have conditions already in mind or, without our generic ones, but
The ones that we typically like to discuss are monitoring during construction.
okay.
Which is something that the commission typically requires, that it's a third-party monitor or a monitor is proposed by the project is a pre-construction requirement.
Mhm.
We figure out who that person is, make sure they have the proper credentials for SWIFT inspections and the like, and then that they would do a weekly monitoring and after every 0.25 inch rain event. What's that? Sorry.
There's a weekly manager.
I know,
Yeah,
usually it ends up being weekly anyways, but so yes, so those two things, and then, and let's,
I'm thinking about like, I'm thinking about like if there's changes that happen in between, like this design submission and then, what goes to bidding and construction, and also just making sure that the commission's in the loop on what the phasing is and, those kinds of things.
that is typical. Our order conditions have a condition saying that if any changes happen between when I issue this order and when you come to start, you need to tell us pre-con, and then the commission can, if the change is significant enough, the commission can choose to require an amended order or even a new order of conditions issued to prove to increase impacts to jurisdictional spaces. That would be the discretion of the commission, but usually as a pre-construction requirement is to submit the final, most recent construction set of plans to confirm that they match what we originally issued.
Right, and typically if they don't match like exactly, we will make that known to the conservation agent as we submit them and say these are the things that have changed.
I'm just making it for myself.
Any other questions from the commission? No, I don't have any. No.
So the timeline, it sounds like there's the bridge, there's the rock wall, and then there's the stormwater system. Are those basically kind of the three main?
The rock wall is actually going to be part of Emerald Place as well. So we'll be reconstructing the road at that same time. So there's almost two phasings of the road. That could be two phases of the road construction, depending on funding.
So you're applying for some funding at the end of June. Yes.
Diane, do you want to speak to the funding sources?
So funding wise, no, yes and no. So end of June is when this MVP grant is up. The next MVP funding round the application will be due next spring. So we'd be applying for that next spring. So hopefully we'd get some MVP funding and we'd probably try to pair it again with maybe some CDBG funding or other funding sources. But a lot of those grants we'll be applying for in the spring. So it probably wouldn't be next construction season, but the season after, if we can get that funding, that it would, we'd be starting construction.
Okay. So if we end up issuing something now that's for 3 years, they'll already be at least 1, if not 2 years in before you can even start it.
And then how many, because you can ask for a
An
continuation,
extension.
right? And is it year by year at that point, or is it another 3? I think it's year by year, right?
You can do it every time the commission extends a permit. They can extend it for up to a period of 3 years. So you could get another 3 years. There's no limit on the number of times the commission can extend a permit either. So they could extend it, it's your discretion of how often you want to do that. We do have projects often ask for 1 year if they're close to the end, but it seems like in this instance, they probably go for the next 3. So yeah, that's
I
something.
guess what I'm wondering is whether it makes sense to
I will say that a lot of the funding sources are looking for permits to pretty much be in hand for the construction projects, just so they know that they are ready to get constructed as opposed to having to go through the permitting process. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
that's part of why we did this now.
So which would you start with? If you got funding a year from now, which project would you start with? Or does it depend on what they fund?
It depends on what they fund and costs, the final costs that come out, and what we could, basically pay for. We'd likely probably start with one of the two slope stabilization, one of the ends of Emerald Place would likely be our starting point. But like Laura said, that the pedestrian bridge is kind of its own little mini project that is connected to this project. So depending on where we get a funding source and, you know, how it will fit in, it's a little more remote from this project. So we'll fit it in where we can and get the funding for it.
One thing,
And,
go ahead,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, in related to the phasing, if there's like all these gonna be these kind of different iterations, one of the things the commission's required in the past is a pre-construction meeting
Yeah.
before each phase,
Right.
especially if they happen at vastly different times.
Yeah.
It's something that we could have
Yeah, I think that's
a
good.
requirement.
And then the invasive species removal. There wasn't a lot of detail about, you just said aggressive, but I don't know if you were talking about pulling stuff, if it's gonna be soil disturbance, if you're gonna be using herbicides, like what would that look like? Since you're near water and wildlife and,
Right, right.
and hope it's eroding.
Right. No, I think that we would, I guess, Diane, do you have an idea of how, I know. Sorry, we're both engineers. That's our experience with this piece of it. I would say that the invasive species need to be removed. And like, otherwise they have already taken over the entire slope. And so I think the idea is wherever we're taking out, we're also replacing. So we wouldn't leave bare dirt. We would be replacing it, and not necessarily with seeds, but with seedlings and like actual rooted plants.
And I would say, at least on other projects, if we do use herbicides, they're hand like put on the roots as opposed to like spraying. It's usually been like things that really can't be removed completely and we know will come back. There's been like basically painting on the roots if that has happened.
Should that be any other condition?
Yeah, so one of the things, again, that we typically require for pre-con requirement before they can start, they have to submit invasive species management plan that the commission approves before they start. And so, it sounds like, yeah, in this instance, what I would want to make sure the details include that, showing what herbicides, if any, would be used, which is something the commission in that area specifically, or very nearby along the pond there, the commission has approved the use of herbicides, but as they need to prove through the product information sheet that it's appropriate to use in such proximity, and that they plan to use it in the way that it has to be.
They don't have to submit that plan now, you're saying? That's for
Not
the
necessarily. It's the commission's discretion. Just in the past, we have allowed it to be pre-construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last question was about the wildlife. There also wasn't all that much detail about, you said that some small mammals or birds might need to be moved temporarily.
Not that we would move them, but they may
They
move themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Themselves. And so I know there was some concern expressed by one of the neighborhood residents about like wood ducks and some species that are endangered. Which I think is more toward Everett Street, but I don't know, like if.
So there is no, on the natural heritage mapping there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Diane, but there is no map species here. And then having the construction being phased could potentially really help with that, where if we have it phased and you know, you'd still preserve, and this is a very large pond system, so you're still preserving quite a bit of the riparian area and the tree canopy along the whole pond.
Is it correct to say that you're only expecting the most significant vegetation removal in that first section by
Yes.
Ferry Street, and then as you go down, maybe forward to access the outfall areas, they will need to do, but not.
But this area actually already has significant slope destabilization, and trees have already fallen in,
Right.
and it's pretty wiped out in this area and in the other outlet. So this would have, you know, there will be disturbance as we have to, you know, bring in a bobcat or whatever they decide to use to, not a bobcat for these boulders, but to place the boulders.
Sure.
And then, you know, go back out and work themselves out. In the north area where there's the soil stabilization, the total removal minus the trees will just be in that first 12 feet where the soil nail wall is will be proposed, and then the rest down to the pond will be preserved except for invasive species. And
And
then,
In that section too, everything will be done from, like, any machine work will be done from the top. For nails and everything.
Do we have jurisdiction to ask? I'm actually just thinking of turtle eggs. They often come and bury them in the soil and the sand around the pond, but they have a very specific, like, May and June kind of hatching period. We just saw a dead turtle right near there the other day, and I'm just wondering if there's any way we can ask for the digging and the machinery to, I don't know, be used not in.
Well, usually egg laying happens on stable ground and higher ground, not on the slope
Okay.
normally, but
Well, just to answer your question quickly, what the commission can ask for those things. You can ask for shifting of the timeline of the work to accommodate for those things. And then it's up for you to decide if that would be appropriate in this instance. Again, I don't know where they would necessarily nest or not, but it is an interesting question.
it's egg laying now and hatching is in July. Usually,
Yeah, it's a 12-week gestation, which is probably right when you want to be doing it.
right.
Pretty laid back. And I don't even know if there are any turtle eggs around there. But
I think most, like a lot of different turtle species in Mass are listed with Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. So those that, if they were in the pond, then they would be, then at least those
the
stay
endangered
listed
ones are
turtles.
listed.
Yeah. And the other ones, like,
I should, I don't know.
you want to make on that, you got to break a few eggs.
Well, thanks.
But I don't know, that's my view. Another option would be, if you get like a silt fence in place along the edge of the resource area before the turtles kind of come out of their winter.
Maybe it would keep them from going.
Yeah, it keeps them from going to certain
That's an
areas.
idea. Maybe that could be a condition. The Turtle Rescue League can come and take all the eggs too, and remove them. Oh, that's cool. Then take them somewhere else to hatch.
Let's see. So that's a question. Do you guys want to try to have a pre-construction or a condition that the silt fencing should be installed before turtle nesting time? Which
It could be part of the pre-construction, depending on the time of year when all this is taking place. We could make an adjustment. If it starts in November, we don't have nothing to worry about as far as turtle eggs. So
Right.
I guess I would offer that if the city went out and took a look and saw that there was no evidence of turtles using that slope, maybe we just don't worry about it. But the other commissioners are concerned about turtles, then
one way we could do it is to say that the pre-construction requirement is just to give information to the commission as to whether evidence of turtles has been found. Like they have to check, and then but when they come pre-con, they would have to say, and also we did check for turtles. We found them evidence here. We're going to install this in fencing here, or something like that. It's a little more loose, but I think I could word it in a way that encapsulates what we're talking about here, just so that it's like part of the conversation when they come to start to see if there's a way. We've done that before, like in terms of when projects go to install their silt fencing, we ask that they mark trees that happen to be right along the line to see if it can be adjusted. So we don't have the specifics yet at that time, but it's basically a reminder to check on this when it comes time for construction. So I think that's appropriate.
any other questions from commissioners?
can you remind me what the soil nail slope looks like once it's installed in terms of surface cover and all that sort of stuff?
Turtle.
So this was kind of representative pictures. Obviously, this one has less of a slope. This is for the step pools. But down here, this is all one project. And unfortunately, the pictures are flipped. But this is prior. They were having some shifting of the actual roadway. This is during installation. So these soil nails are drilled in, not drilled, but pounded in with a boom, and they go approximately 20 feet into the earth at an angle.
And they're permanent. They don't break down. They're permanent.
Correct. They're permanent. And then this is the geogrid that is laid on top. And then this one is just grassed, but that is not our intention here. Our intention is to put native species and shrubs here, but you can see that it's vegetated and the vegetation is taking from underneath it.
And also, my apologies, notice Botaniform had like a fairly high number for bank, no, it was land underwater impacts was like 4,000 something square feet. Is that cofferdams for installation of things?
My guess is that it's the cofferdam for the outlet control structure. That's right at Glen Clove Place. And so the idea there was
I think it was like just under 5,000 square feet of land underwater, just under 500 linear feet of bank, but you seem to be like pretty far away from the resource area for most of the.
Yeah, so this is all considered, I believe, land underwater because it is kind of like a pool that comes in here. So I think maybe that's why. And then the idea was to put the cofferdam here.
It's also true that the permitting and what you're seeking, sorry, it's okay. What you're seeking a permit for includes if you weren't able to do just the top 12 feet of the slopes, you wanted to get a permit for all the way down, just in case it determined that you did need to go all the way down to.
Yeah, so originally
pond?
our soil nail wall did extend all the way down to the pond. When the installer came out and when our geotechnical engineer took a look at it, they said, no, you really only need to go 12 feet down. And we left the entire distance. And the reason why is what if they get there and they're on site and they find some sort of slope stability issue that goes further than what the original testing had shown.
I think this also includes for the pedestrian bridge as well. So that wall, fixing that wall at the pedestrian bridge, that may be going underwater as well.
All right, so I actually got the right picture. So here is the pedestrian bridge and this pink wall right here looks like it's pinkish purple. That's already there and we want to replace it in kind. When they did the parking area and the multi-use path here along Ferry Street, the wall was completed and they stopped right here.
Okay.
And so it's very old stones and the idea would be to reset those stones in place.
So that's a reconstruction of that wall, basically.
Yes. Yep. The idea is to have a span that goes over it, and then just reconstruct.
Any other questions from commissioners? Good.
Nope. No more questions from
I
me.
guess we'll open up to the public. Are there any questions from the public?
Kathy Wazinski, Overwood Drive. I was wondering, you said the DPW would be responsible for maintenance. What are they going to be maintaining?
The roadway, so this is a roadway project above, anything else. So the roadways, the curbing, the sewers, this new multi-use path, the soil nail wall. And so all of the plantings that go into that, all the plantings that go along the slope, really the entire project, even the boulder cascade pools down the way, making sure that especially after storm events that they're going and checking and maintaining the boulders.
Okay, and how about the rain garden? Can you explain what those are and who's maintaining those?
The city will also be maintaining those. And those are curved planters. Kind of looks like they just went in on Cherry Street. I don't know if you've seen them or not, or if this is okay. So
yeah,
it's very.
My understanding is that the residents are being asked to take care of those.
I don't know the answer to that, Diane. Do you?
I think just basic like plant care kind of stuff, like taking leaves out a little bit, but we do have the 4 bays that are at the beginning that most of the materials are supposed to collect at, and just like when the catch basins are cleaned every year, they're going to clean those out in the same time period.
The DPW will do that.
Yep.
So the DPW will be responsible for taking care of the rain gardens and whatnot once a year?
No, the operations and maintenance manual, they'll be more frequent than that. They'll especially would be checking on them. And then I believe once twice every year, there'll be like a full and complete check of the plants and making sure that everything's growing appropriately, that it needs to be trimmed or monitored at that point.
How much of the roadway does those planters take up?
They're incorporated into the design. So the three that we have there's one that's further here, and that's right along the roadway here. And actually, you might be able to see it here, but they're actually part of the bump outs. So this is parking. So they're not taking up any of the actual driving lanes. But what they're like little bump outs from the parking stalls along the way. So the idea is to incorporate them into the streetscape, and so that they're not infringing on the road. They do act pretty well as traffic calming measures.
Traffic calming measures.
Yes, because it gives the eye a visual of seeing it makes the appearance of the road visually go down because there's not a parking spot there. And so as people are driving, they're thinking about the road, it looks like it's narrowing, even though the road lane itself has not narrowed at all. That makes sense.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Is there sufficient room in there for moving trucks to be able to park and people still be able to get by with regular vehicles? I mean, that's all rental property over there primarily.
Right. So it will be as it is similar to existing conditions. I think maybe what might need to happen, and I think Diane, this might be thinking about, moving vans and how we handle those. Maybe they happen in the parking spaces that are there. They're along the road. Yeah. Yeah. So like there's parking spaces here and here. There's one here. There's a larger portion of them. It's a little bit easier to see on this plan. So these are the parking spaces, some of them. Mhm. And then some of many of the residents here, they do have driveways that are leading into their residence.
Mhm.
So thinking about planning that ahead and being able to park smaller moving trucks or delivery trucks on the driveways.
This doing, but go ahead.
I know last time there was a question of maybe beyond our jurisdiction, but one of the residents asked about parking. If there was going to be a reduction of parking, I thought that you said there were going to be some central places for people to park.
So that's actually that's the same location as the snow removal, and people are doing that today. So even though there are spaces along here as of today and they're not all being used, people do park in this apartment building and circular driveway.
We're more just formalizing the parking, honestly. It's just that people can't park with the curbing there. We need to formalize where there's going to be spots for the parking.
Any other questions from the public? Is there anyone online, Cassie, that has any hand raised?
Yeah, if anybody wants to raise their hand, use the raise hand function, it's the way to do that is to the left of the end call button all the way. You got the option from the bottom there. There's the big red button. To the left of that is a little hand. If you click that, it would put you in line to let us know you have a question or a comment that you want to make. I'm not seeing any yet.
So right now we hit the project's at 60% design or 75% design. Does the commission feel we have enough to make a decision on this tonight?
Do we want to, if you feel like you're at that place, do we want to look at the conditions potentially?
Sure, we can get into the detailed conditions.
You can bear with me for a second. I'm
Sure.
just going to pull up.
Well, that's what I'm asking
Yeah,
everyone,
you guys-
whether we feel that
Yeah.
we're at a point where we can make a decision, or does this need to go to another meeting when we're closer to the 90% design plan?
What would be changing in the next?
Nothing
15%.
regarding, nothing regarding stormwater or these pieces. We did talk about the detail. That would be a little bit more formalized. But what's changing is the curbing and the transportation pieces of the project and like the actual civil site design. That
Which may
is,
not be our jurisdiction anyway, so.
no. And so this is typical of a permit is like a 75% design plan, and then we take those to final construction plans. And actually in this case, usually for a project like this, we wouldn't go to 90%. We would take it from the 75 to the 100. Because it's operated through an MVP grant, we didn't want to promise 100% construction plans without knowing.
Sure.
You never know as you're starting to face something through a grant. So that's why we kind of hit with this 90% idea.
I'm comfortable with the conditions that we've already started to create.
Sure, okay.
Around
Yeah.
invasive species and the turtles and the trees that you've identified to keep. And
Right. But you
Yeah.
can see that beforehand.
Like review. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as long as we have another pass at it during the pre-construction phase, that should be good.
Yep, so, just preemptively, it sounds like we're good with the normal type of reporting where it's every week and after every 0.25 inch rain event reporting. You have to pre-construction requirement would be to identify who that person is for the commission's approval. And
Okay.
then during, a condition for during construction would be to do that, and do it accurately. We would have a pre-construction requirement that there is a pre-construction meeting at the beginning of each phase or before each phase begins. Which basically just gets all the players involved there and confirms that the erosion controls and site conditions are correct before they can start. An invasive species removal plan would be a pre-construction requirement for approval at that time before work begins. Checking in on that if any turtles have been found, evidence of turtles have been found during site visits leading up to the pre-construction meeting, and the commission reviewing if they have any requirements related to that, like silt fencing. And then what else did I have? And then flagging of the trees that are to be saved, the 8 to 12,
Okay.
determining what those final trees are, making sure they're flagged on site before work began as well as a pre-construction requirement. And trying to think of other things. This project is, correct me, I should know, but are we also applying for a stormwater permit for this project? Or is this just an order of conditions? Can't remember if that was something that you guys needed to obtain.
Should be a stormwater.
I would
permit.
think there would be a stormwater permit for this, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I remember processing a stormwater permit fee for this project, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Well, because we're doing full depth reconstruction too, so usually for this
So
like,
Okay, thanks, Diane. For when you make a motion, you have to make a motion for the stormwater permit as well, just a note, but also what typically is required for that is a bond, but because it's a city project, there will not be a bond associated with this because we own it either way. So it's not required in this instance. Final set of construction drawings. I think if there's
Going back to
anything else.
the pre-construction meeting question, I think just because we won't quite be at, whatever design percentage that we're at currently, and there'll be some time and some phasing, I think I would ask, like, so when I think of the pre-construction meetings that we've been having, it's usually like, here's the contractor, here's the city, here's, the different representatives. But I think I'd ask for a meeting in like an in-room, in public meeting conversation before bidding, just to say like, okay, here's, this is how it just all shook out and it's 100% in compliance, or it's 100% in accordance with the order of conditions, just to confirm that for everybody, to get everybody's like head on the same page.
So is that, it would be a one-time, it was like a pre-construction meeting
Right.
where we just talk about for the bidding to make sure everything's in order.
Yep.
Before, like, that's just well before construction kind of.
Yep.
If that makes sense. And then would you want that to happen in a conservation commission meeting or?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because, like, since it's I don't know, once something goes out to bid, then it's pretty well locked in place. And if there's something that we don't agree with for whatever reason, then it's kind of like too late. But if we just take care of it beforehand, then,
Basically, once we have a bid package together to come in front of Conservation Commission.
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Do you have a recommendation for a time before it goes out to bid or just before?
Enough time for you to make any tweaks.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
It sounds like it would be at your discretion. The commission meets pretty regularly at this, on the second and fourth Monday of each month. So because that already is a set meeting thing, you can kind of choose which one would make most sense for your guys' timeline to accommodate potential changes. Okay, cool, like that.
Any other conditions that we want to add to the list?
Wondering if you found the trees before all the birds come and make nests.
I think that would be difficult to promise with the phasing of the years and like how it would go with month to month. And specifically thinking about this being hopefully a grant funded project, I think that would be a difficult thing to meet. Because grants, you usually typically have however much time, and if you're not funded during the time of the nesting, you might not be able to hit that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a concern. I'm not sure it falls under our jurisdiction for wetlands protection, but a concern's a concern. Correct.
I know it's not in the law, but
State regulators are not talking about bats yet. So you don't need a core permit, which is good.
The only thing I think is a dewatering plan, because you certainly have to do dewatering for the coffer dam near the dam itself.
Mhm.
And do that
But
part.
that could be part of the pre-construction
Yes,
covenant.
so
We don't need to decide that tonight. We can do it in the pre-construction because obviously we have other stopgaps here to work with.
yeah, I've done that many times. And then you'll probably know better pre-con when you get closer to construction if you need to get down. Sounds like you're not going to need to get all the way down to the pond for where you're putting the soil nail, but you're going to permit it for the whole thing. So should that time come, the dewatering plan can explain what they would need to do for that.
They'd also probably need we need dewatering at the outfalls.
I'm thinking here,
Mhm.
or sorry, yeah, Glencoe Place, that outlet, and then up here.
And then after that, it's really just our typical conditions for the stormwater permits and for the
Sure.
order of conditions. Checking in at milestone events for the stormwater structures and getting it checked by the city engineer at the end for the certificate of compliance and all good stuff like that. One of the certificate of compliance or post-construction requirements to get the certificate of compliance typically includes providing as-built to show that those have been constructed as they were permitted.
Yep.
And pretty much it.
That's probably pretty good for
Yeah.
where we are right now.
Yeah, our boilerplate is extensive.
Sure.
There's about 60 conditions included in there that are typical. So, I think that will cover it quite well.
So are we comfortable going forward with a motion? So we need a motion to issue or order conditions as discussed and to issue a stormwater permit. Would someone like to make that motion?
motion to, go ahead.
Okay, I'll move that we issue a order of conditions, with the conditions as we've outlined now, but just catching what you said, do we just mention the need for a stormwater permit or are we issuing a stormwater?
You're gonna issue one of those
Issue-
next.
We need to
Yeah, it
issue
needs to
one
be part of
now.
the motion, right?
So that's part of the motion.
Second, okay. Roll call vote. Commissioner Buttrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Carr.
Aye.
Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
So I have 21 days to write the permit and get it to you, but I'll try to get that as soon as I can, because I know you guys are working on, Diane, you can give me an update of when you need it by, for the grant stuff. Obviously, it's just,
Yeah, but also like sending an email and just saying that it's been, that you're working on it, I think would be
Okay.
That should be sufficient by the end of the month. Thanks, Cassie.
Yep, thank you. Thank you.
down.
Do we want to do something out of order here?
Yes, if we can take item 5B out of agenda order.
Get a motion to take item 5B out of order.
I'll move to take item 5B out of order.
Seconds.
Second.
It's a compliment.
I'm gonna get Julie.
Okay, sure.
Oh, we probably forgot about her. You can just go.
Okay, roll call, Commissioner Buttrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
Commissioner Carr.
Hi.
All right, we're going to take item 5B out of order. As soon as our chair returns.
This train's rolling ahead with that.
Well,
5B, it's coming. 5B, that's right. So request for certificate of compliance.
we had a motion to take item 5B out of order.
All right.
That's it. We're already there.
Roll call vote.
Which one? It is.
All right, so request for certificate of compliance. Did you already read this?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
No.
John M. Lilly, Mass DEP file number 1510225, partial for unit 2 only of housing development at 147, lot 1.002. This is a permit that expired back in June of 2006. Someone here to speak for this?
Sean Sullivan, attorney for Ms. Karen Alexander, the owner of Unit 2 at 311 East Street, part of the Downtown Estate condominium. We're just requesting a certificate of compliance on this matter. It hasn't been released yet. It's actually preventing her from selling her property. The buyer's only requires that there be no outstanding conditions.
If I can,
Yes.
give an explanation to the commission. So, this needed a little good amount of research because it was an older permit. Obviously the permit has since expired. The commission has issued certificates of compliance for old permits like this in the past. What we typically would do is do a site visit, pull the old files, see like, okay, what was proposed? Does it match what was required, what was permitted by the commission, and is the site stable? Certainly I can confirm that site is stable. I did a site visit on June 6th and went out there. The first thing that I'll say is this project for the whole development, it's been actually kind of a complicated path for the permitting for this parcel. There's been 4 different permits for the parcel. All of them have received certificates of compliance, except for this one. I think the reason is for this one, it originally expired and the commission determined they had to come back and get a new permit to keep going. And so that one kind of just like faded away. This one faded away, but it still is recorded against the property on the registry of deeds. So that's why it's here. When I did my site visit in the rear of the property, based off what the plans showed, it looks like there's supposed to just be, you know, a section of lawn and then the original tree line. They have installed a kind of garden along that original tree line. It looks like, I don't know if it's known who did it or when or what the story is with that. But it does look substantially stable, even so.
Flower, vegetable.
That flower garden. I can show the pictures here in a section, actually. It's very pretty, but technically what I don't think is part of the original plan. However, later iterations of the permitting process, the commission did issue a COC for the project. So I don't know if that, like, when that would have happened, if that makes sense. So like, this is
Back up, say that again?
yeah, this is permit 151225, and then permit 151226 and 248 have both received certificates of compliance, and they were kind of like later iterations of the project because 225 expired, and so the commission required them to get 226 to keep going with the project because it was like a whole new, does that make sense? Kind of
So
complicated.
226 was a new permit to continue the work under 225, but 225 wasn't closed.
That's my understanding. I don't have a COC on file for 202. So addressing the whole parcel is a large question of like what's the best way to issue a COC for the whole parcel? But for just this one unit, it seems like potentially the commission could find a way to look at it and see how they feel about that. But let me share the pictures from the site visit so you can see what I'm talking about here.
Cassie, when were those certificates of compliance? Jay and I were on the board in those years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we, I don't know if we knew that there was an older order of conditions,
Right.
but I've been on the site before.
Okay, cool. Let me see. I wrote it all out. Okay, so for permit, the first permit that issued for the project was 1510225.
Is the room that lost its connection. Oh.
Hi, folks. Is there anyone who could raise your hand, make sure you can hear us? We lost. Okay, hold on just a second. Matt, if you can help us, I'm going to make you a co-host, Matt Baker, so you can help us just do a little troubleshooting here. Hi, Matt. Can you hear us? All right, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you just fine. All right, just you talk, Kathy.
Now it's coming through. It's coming through my computer. We can't hear you yet. All right, Matt, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, Cassie. I can't hear the room.
I see. Thank you. Hold on just a moment. So the meeting did not end. For the folks who are in attendance now, they've not experienced the meeting crashing.
Okay.
You just can't see it here because this TV crashed.
Okay.
So I don't think we need to continue the meeting.
I agree.
We haven't, none of the folks at home have lost access to the meeting yet.
Excellent.
So it's just that you can't see it here if you're here in the room with us now. So
That's been happening at a lot of meetings where the TV loses and then it comes back on. And then
I don't know what's up with that. I'll talk to IT. We've been reporting it hopefully, but in theory, no one has lost access to this meeting. Okay. Okay. I appreciate that. That's good to know.
Not you.
No, I know, but still, it's still good to know. So just carrying on with what we described. So we don't have a video feed anymore, but we do have audio.
So 2.6 and 2.8 were not just for this unit, they were for the whole.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Everything, all these permits I'm listing were for the entire.
But they were issued certificates of compliance.
Only 226 and 248. So
But since those were for the whole, this would have been part of the whole.
what's that? Sorry, say it again.
Since those were issued in compliance for the whole, this was part of the whole.
This is an entirely different permit. Nothing was issued for it.
Mm-hmm.
A different number.
Right, I get that.
Yep. I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm asking.
So it's kind of like, in a procedural sense, it is a totally different project because they're totally different permit numbers. And so.
So we have to address it.
Okay.
And it's clearly still on the deed, so it's a problem and needs addressed.
Yes. I think what I'm speaking to is this deviation, is that I don't know if the deviation was seen of this garden that was installed.
Mm-hmm.
Did the commission in the past, did that exist then and were they okay with it then? And that's why they issued a full COC for the project in its entirety. Could that justify doing that now? I don't know. Just something to note for the commission. And the last thing I wanted to note is the other permit is numbers 0248, also was issued a certificate of compliance in 2017. But I haven't gone back to look at the minutes yet for those items. I didn't have time, unfortunately, to see what that was the discussion. It may not have been discovered then or have existed then, but.
So there are bollards in place according to this plan? Yes or no?
No, there's no bollards on the site now. I'll show you I can show you the pictures from the site visit. Hold on. Oh, can I?
Are they saying that were in this package?
Well, they're right here.
I didn't see any bollards in this package, right?
So I guess one, like, so are we being asked to issue a certificate of compliance, the type wherein the work described in the order was not completed because it was covered by a subsequent order? Like, when did construction happen relative to this order? So I'm doing this at work right now where I have 2 orders of conditions that cover the same work. And it all happened ages ago, and I've got to close the older one, you know, and then address the newer one. And so what we're doing is saying, like, the old one, the work was never completed because it was completed on the new one. But this might be different enough in that case. So I guess I don't know if that's what we're being asked to do, or if we have to issue some other kind of, like, this is such a complicated site that I think it just makes sense to do this as simply as possible and, you know, close it.
Right. And before we get into the nitty gritty, help me understand the form that's in front of us. So the certificate is being requested to be issued to Karen Alexander, who is related to the original permit. How?
She's the current owner.
Current
owner of one unit.
Unit, that is correct. Unit 2.
So you're asking for a partial release for that
Just
unit.
For that unit only.
Yeah.
That was my recommendation.
Is that how we usually do this? We issue it to the current owner and not, I guess it has to be because Kool-Aid Development isn't coming to ask for it, right?
It has to, especially since it's a partial just for that unit, it seemed appropriate to me to go to the property owner. It typically is the property owner who we would issue it to. And so I think because it's,
that makes sense.
And so,
they wouldn't be the owner anymore anyways. All right.
Is the order recorded against that unit in particular, or is it against the whole thing?
The entire division, but because the house exists on that subdivision, I think that's why it's coming up when they're trying to sell the property.
But it still exists. This order is still outstanding for the whole development.
Correct, and it will remain so. This will just relieve this one unit.
Why has it not come up when other units were sold?
I couldn't say. I don't know.
Sometimes these things get missed in title exams. Most of us contract with title examiners. They do a title exam, and sometimes these things pop up. Sometimes they don't. I think it's confusing to read when you go through. A lot of them have been closed out. Certificate of compliance have been issued, but not for all of them.
Right.
I'll just get in touch with that association and say, hey, can you ask us to close this out?
Yeah, it might be a separate matter. Yeah.
And also, what's up with the garden?
Well, I can guess exactly what's up with the garden because my mother lives in a condo association that's done the exact same thing.
Somewhere else.
This is how where I live. I'm gonna make it pretty, which I totally respect. My only real concern is that we do show these bollards, which are supposed to presumably demarcate the extent of where they're allowed to mow in perpetuity. I'm looking for the permit, which I haven't found yet.
Might be that one right there. Should be an amended. Yep, that should be the amended right there.
I'll no reason to say the work covered in this order is not completed.
That's true. Well, and issuing a partial for this unit would not make it so that the commission cannot issue a full, commission can review for the whole parcel whenever that request comes in the future.
My guess is there's 1,000 other things that were not, like, I think the whole thing was built way different than this.
Okay.
You know?
Conditions are not attached to this, they're on the original, it says.
Not way different, but like.
Sure. But I'm saying, like, the commission likely, when that request does come for the whole development, the commission will still be empowered to request, hey, what's up with these bollards? What's up with these larger things, like maybe associated with the stormwater? If we find that's just an example. I don't know that there's anything wrong with the stormwater management. Just thinking, and the whole development may be better equipped to accommodate those requirements.
We spent ages talking about the pipe through there, what if there was a buffer zone associated with it or not, foundation, and like.
Cassie, did you look at the enforcement order?
I did, yep, so there also was an enforcement order, yep. The enforcement order actually was related to this permit expiring. That may have been others that were smaller for the decks, but there was a large enforcement order that was related to work continuing, but the 225 permit had expired. The commission was like,
What year was that?
I want to say, let's see, I
think
have it
when I
here.
started on the commission, it was like
2007.
enforcement was in process.
Yeah, 2007, because I think there was like some contention that, no, it was it was amended in 2005, that extended the permit, which we know is not how it works. If you get an amendment, you also still need to remember to come for your extension, even if you did them around the same time. So I think there was a little confusion there.
So the original permit is not here, which means we don't have the conditions.
I might have them digitized. Let me double check. Now that you say that, I wonder. Bear with me, hold on.
And I'm trying to figure out what so the bollards was just supposed to be limit of lawn. Presumably these squares, there's no legend on this map produced by a company that no longer exists.
I don't even think the resource area ended up looking like that in the end. Like, I think there was redelineations and all kinds of stuff. I don't think we can look at this plan and expect anything to be the same.
And these, oh, that was silt fence, there we go, okay. That was nothing. This was just supposed to be a 100-foot offset probably from the.
So maybe these are the
from this
bollards here.
Yeah, those are the bollards.
Yeah,
There's a couple others over there.
sure.
I'm looking at the conditions now. Just really quickly looking for something like bollards or lawn limitations have been established as shown in the plans on file. The Easthampton Conservation Commission is one of the conditions. That doesn't talk about a marker though.
If there were gonna be markers, they were taken care of when we did a certificate of compliance for the other things.
Yeah, it's possible that they changed the plan.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff.
If they're not
got
mentioned in
changed.
the order, I don't think we need to worry about them.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't look at this and expect anything that's on there to be, to have been agreed to or not.
Okay.
later.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So if Cassie doesn't find it in there, we won't worry about it.
The commission was satisfied with how things worked out when we did the other certificates of compliance.
And Cassie, did you walk through this garden to see how deep it extends into the woods?
In the later projects, we'll show you. I didn't measure it out, but
Does it get, is it encroaching on the actual resource area in any way?
I would say likely no. I didn't see any like evidence of issues of erosion into the stream or anything. It's pretty clear. The stream is very like just a straight cut channel. I didn't see any erosion evidence into the stream. There was probably like a 3-foot buffer of native vegetation, might have been jewelweed that was growing in between where the maintained garden seemed to end and the bank seemed to be,
Okay. Because it would be my opinion, we don't know where this is relative to where the limit of lawn was supposed to be. But I would rather see a garden with diverse vegetation than lawn in the buffer any day, as long as it's not full of invasives. Did you see anything sketchy?
No, actually very well maintained.
Okay, so I'm not too concerned about that either.
It's really pretty. For whatever that's worth. Like kudos for that.
So my inclination is if there was no mention of the bollards in the.
From my cursory look just now, it was quite cursory, but I didn't see that mentioned explicitly as far as I could tell.
My inclination, given that there were other permits released after this, would be to go ahead and issue the threshold. Thoughts, considerations?
I think I'm fine with it.
I feel like you're.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So is it a motion for partial release?
Yes.
Um,
And I guess it would be partial relative to Unit 2 and the surrounding area is what has been requested. About the portions of work around Unit 2 and the surrounding area.
I'll make that motion, Unit 2 in the housing development in the surrounding area. For
Second.
partial release.
Second.
Oh, yep.
Roll call vote, Patrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so we'll issue a partial certificate. The portions of work released from this order are Unit 2, the verbiage and the surrounding area. Cassie, this form is set up a little bit oddly. There's signatures here, but also it wants a signature here. Is this me?
No, that just, I need to write in the word Easthampton.
Oh, right,
No
right.
idea why, but I
Okay.
will do that.
Yeah, gotcha. I feel like we haven't signed an actual.
I know.
form in a
I know.
while, and I've forgotten how it all works.
I know.
What's going on right now?
True.
So pass that around for signatures and we'll be, I think, able to probably provide you a copy tonight.
I hope, yeah, actually, I can probably scan that and give it to you.
You guys closed the last meeting?
Took 2 lines, Jay.
Yes, we did, yeah.
How's it have to skip a line?
When did you join this,
Get messy.
when did you join this board? How long have I making you 5 years?
I used to sign a lot of stuff. It had to be very efficient.
I don't know if it's okay time to do it, but also I would request that we take item 8J out of agenda order, which is for 6973 Lapville Road.
Okay, let's, finish this one.
Yeah, if you guys want to wait, I will scan this.
So that word Easthampton is written in, I didn't see that. Indeed.
6/10/2024. Yes. Okay.
All right, well, Cassie is getting that. I understand we have a motion, or a request rather, to take 8J out of order.
So I will move to take agenda item 8J out of order.
Do we have a second? All those in favor, Buttrick?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries. Sorry about that. I got confused. All right. We'll wait for Cassie to get back and then we'll move on to 8J, which is the compliance update for Arlevec Associates, Inc., 69 and 73 Lapville Road, which is Mass DEP file number 1510309 for new 18-unit housing development, map 140 and 139, lot 28 and 29/11.
I need to start doing these roll call votes for everything. It just takes so much time.
COVID rules. I don't know if this still
Do we
exists
still
or not.
really have to do them?
So there was a debate
Other
about
boards
it
are
and
not-
nobody was sure.
Other boards are not doing it.
And
So I
not-
don't know what the real rules are.
We don't have to.
My understanding is you only have to do it if one of your members is online
Interesting.
Fascinating.
and having read the rules.
Thank you.
Pays to read the rules sometimes, I guess.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll send you a digital copy soon. But thank you, Casey. Anything else?
Right, do I introduce yourself for the record? Absolutely. Rebecca Lee with our Levesque Associates, located at 40 School Street in Westfield, Massachusetts. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Joe Kelly, to review, I guess, the changes from the last meeting for the 69 Loudsville Road detention basin. So based on the last meeting, Philippe Prevo from our office presented the proposed modifications. I believe it was continued to allow the city engineer to review the modifications and provide comments. Since then, Diane has sent her comments. I believe that was June 6th. Philippe provided a response, which I believe was provided to the commission. Cassie, feel free to correct me if I misspeak here.
No, you're good.
But I can certainly run through those comments and our responses if that pleases the commission.
Please.
Okay.
This is this number anyway.
So the first comment here at the bottom of the basin, are you just raising the inlets or adjusting the grade with fill? If fill, what material? The response was the rims of the inlets will be raised to the new basin bottom elevation. The basin will be raised with suitable well-drained material from the additional excavated areas and supplemented with well-drained sandy material as needed to promote infiltration. Second, whoops. Second comment here, with the soil test pits you performed, are you confident that the additional area and the extra 1 foot of infiltration volume will allow for the needed infiltration, not detention? Our response was yes, we feel that raising the basin bottom along with adding the outlet will allow for the basin to empty completely. As constructed, the basin needs to infiltrate about 4 to 5 feet of water to empty. By introducing the outlet, the basin will only need to infiltrate the volume below the outlet about 1.25 feet. Next comment here, confirm that the size, location, and alignment with the pipe and slope of the level spreader is adequate to deal with the energy dissipation. Our response is the overflow pipe to the outlet is an 8-inch HDPE with sufficient capacity to convey the overflow from the basin, which is about 0.2 CFS during the 100-year event. An 8-inch pipe at the proposed slope has a capacity of about 0.9 CFS. Additionally, the overflow pipe has been conservatively specified as a perforated pipe to further reduce
Sorry.
Let's see me that. Not sure why.
Hold on. Okay. Go ahead.
Technology.
Apologies, everyone. Thanks for your patience.
So additionally, the overflow pipe has been conservatively specified as a perforated pipe to further reduce the discharge at the outfall. The location of the pipe was chosen to stay inside the existing limit of work as much as possible in order to minimize the impact to any existing trees. No new trees will need to be removed to install the pipe. The area where the level spreader is proposed will require a small additional area of impact outside the original limit of work, but completely outside conservation jurisdiction, and no new trees will be impacted. Due to the relatively low flows coming out of the overflow pipe from the basin, the level spreader with the riprap lined stilling area behind it will dissipate the energy from the outfall. The level spreader has a shallow stilling area behind the overflow weir so that the water coming in from the pipe outlet can lose energy in the riprap and be evenly distributed across the level spreader weir. And I think there's a detail over here on the plan. Next comment, confirm that the removal of the impermeable barrier will not lead to any slope stability issues. The response was the basin expansion has been designed adhering to the required 50-foot slope setback per the stormwater handbook. During the initial design, the impermeable barrier was proposed with the idea that the sandy profile continued deep down below the basin. However, with the restrictive layer encountered, the liner is acting to prevent the movement of water down gradient. And that summarizes the comment.
So that was the original back and forth with the previous city engineer, but I know we've received final comment from the current city engineer based off of those responses. So that was great. They kind of
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay. I think it was good to review. But so since then, we have received from Diane Rossini that basically it looks like it meets the required standards. She has the following comments related to construction design on the system. Is my understanding that the fill to raise the grade of the basin in 187 will be a well draining soil that will allow for infiltration. Also, for any work in the infiltration basin, care should be taken to minimize any compaction or introduction of fines that would impact the function of the basin. Next comment was the basin should be protected during construction from any construction stormwater flow that would impact its functionality in the future. Next comment is the level spreader shall be situated and graded so that it can be managed, so that it can manage the velocity of stormwater flow effectively. Based on conversations, it is my understanding that there will be a stilling area within the level spreader that will be properly located in size to do this function. The flows from this pipe should be relatively low, so this should be adequate from the energy sufficient required. And then the last comment she had is the owner contractor should keep her, the city engineer, apprised of the construction schedule for drainage work so that if she should so choose, she can come out and inspect the work.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
it's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's helpful.
Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, it was helpful. Yeah.
Going back to one of the comments that I think related to something we had raised at the last meeting, about whether, I forget exactly what the phrasing was, but it was the one where you said the response is that it won't have to drain, currently it has to drain 4 to 5 feet and will only have to drain 1.25 feet.
Yep, so the drawdown analysis was revised to show that using C-type soils per the Rawls rate that's provided in the stormwater handbook, that it will drain less than the 72 hours required.
Do you know how long that drainage time is?
It was 71 point, I can look it up, but yeah, 71.
Just barely.
Yes.
Okay. Questions from the commission?
No.
Do we have any other points that we raised that haven't been addressed? That was the primary one I remember, and questions about the pipe sizing.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Separate thing was donations to Cosponic or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a separate.
Do you still feel like it's appropriate to be a minor change?
Yes.
With administrative approval? Potentially, if you choose to accept it.
Dan, any concerns from your side?
No, I don't think so. It's
a minor change.
Okay. All right, are we ready to go ahead and approve this for construction? I'm trying to get this thing functioning.
Sure.
Okay. Cassie, do we need to officially vote that?
Yeah, I would motion to issue administrative approval as a minor change.
Motion.
I'll to issue an administrative approval that the stormwater adjustments we're talking about as a minor change.
Second.
And do we have the date of the current plan that shows that for the record?
The date of this plan is April 15th, 2024.
Okay. All those in favor, Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries. We've approved that as a minor change, and it can move forward with the appropriate notification of staff as requested, including keeping the city engineer apprised of construction schedule.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we want to discuss the enforcement stuff in the donation stuff or?
Yeah.
Was
there anything?
Your action to be taken?
only that I confirmed that we're still holding $3,800 in escrow is the amount that still is held. $3,800. Speaking with Garrett Stover, who is a volunteer for the Easthampton Conservation Trust, not yet getting confirmation of what they would want.
Sure.
He requested if it be possible to just require an additional 1,200 to make it an even 5,000. That is the donation. He anticipated they would use it to try to do outreach to the abutters and folks along that section of Hannon Brook on proper management and how to help support the habitat functionality of that section of the brook. I haven't had official confirmation from Piscomic board that would be acceptable to them or not, but I don't know if something the commission would find to be appropriate or not. Certainly we'd have to ask the project managers if they could accommodate that as well.
Thoughts?
I mean,
I think if Piscomic feels that they can put this to productive use, there's a chance to move forward and make everybody feel okay about it.
Nancy, didn't you say that when you talked to the circuit rider that you mentioned it couldn't be a random amount, it needs to be tied to something?
Correct.
And is this tied enough?
It's the commission's discretion. I think that potentially, we know that Piscomic owns the abutting property and that them explaining that they will use it to try to help abutters appropriately manage the space. I do think it is quite high enough, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth. I think that the applicant or the project managers have seemed willing to do this, though I don't know if the increase in the amount is something that is the commission would agree with or not, or if the permit they would be able to do it at the project manager side.
And DEP's concern was that because we don't have a bylaw, we don't have a means of enforcing this choice.
Right.
And that was why he was concerned with making sure that it was tied to something. But if all parties are in agreement, I don't see why that would become an issue.
If the contractor agrees
yeah.
with the number, then.
Right.
I think I would think if we asked for more, we should get Piscomic to write out a little budget for what they're gonna do with it, showing that they need that amount or,
I would agree with that. I would like to get something in writing from Piscomic's side explaining how they intend to use the money.
Okay.
I think would be logical. And just to confirm that Garrett is wonderful and does have the confidence of the board, but something formally from
On their letterhead or whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
How does the commission feel about outreach to neighboring property owners versus something more concrete on PCT's property?
What it would look like.
I think it should be PCT's choice,
And it affects everybody downstream, not just PCTs. Makes sense to me. It'd be nice to get some information what the outreach would be about. Stream management.
Let's see if they can put something together about that.
One of the things I should say for the record too is that I think the commission should make it clear, if this is their intention, is not to make the fulfillment now of this enforcement element on PCT. You know what I mean? The responsibility now isn't now you have to do this because it's your job to finish this enforcement. Rather, by giving this donation, we won't make it part of this unless they give us something in writing saying that's their intent. But it doesn't seem like it would be appropriate to have follow up with PCT, proving that they. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're completely right.
Yeah, if they put something together saying this is what they're going to do, they could put a timeline saying we're going to do this in the next year or something. And then you're not under the gun and, being forced into something.
I'm more just trying to say that for the record.
But the idea is not that we are receiving money to pay PCT to do a thing. The idea is that a donation to PCT to do good will be the compensation and mitigation for the thing that we were not able to otherwise mitigate.
Correct.
So there would be no follow-up we'd like to know what PCT's intent is, but then it would be PCT's money to do with as they so choose.
That makes sense.
Whether it is for this or anything else, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense.
Okay. So Cassie, if you would follow up with PCT, just for our curiosity more than anything. And Rebecca, if you could follow up with your client
Absolutely.
about the number, the 5,000 we were talking about, and see if that's amenable to them, that would be excellent.
Absolutely. Great. And will that be present again at the next meeting just to have?
I think we're gonna need one more meeting so I can confirm that
Sure.
PCT is into it and they agree and they've given us this formal something saying that they're gonna do this. And then for you guys to formally say, yeah, we're gonna do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, you were gonna do another site visit to look at the planting.
So a little separate, but yes, I was gonna wait until more time has passed, just to see how it keeps coming in. But this is really just for yeah, I know. It would be cool if we could do that. I don't know if enough time. I'll do one anyways, just to see, maybe we'll feel like that was enough, but, yeah, okay, I will do.
Okay, well, all right.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you for
right,
your
thank
time. All right, back to a different order.
No, actually, sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yep, next one.
I don't know why we put together an agenda.
It helps me create this order. Potential order. 8N for 50 Florence Road.
Motion to take 8N out of order.
Second.
All those in favor, Patrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
All right, item 8N is a compliance update for Beacon Solar LLC, 50 Florence Road, Mass DEP file number 151314 for the large-scale solar project, map 115, lots 2 and 5. And this expires 7/7.
Yep, so there's two things that the commission is being requested to address here. One is a request for a permit extension, which they've met the criteria by 30 days to do that. So, that's the first request. They want to extend it, and correct me if I'm
How
wrong,
long
Matt, for a year is my understanding, but he can correct that if not. And then, the next is the commission approved for the regrading issue, for that ponding issue. Commission approved a plan for that, for the final condition. At the time when they came, they were asked if they would need to do a dewatering plan. They said they would wait until it dried out. They now have to do a dewatering plan. So I wanted to get approved by the commission and see what is proposed. Matt, are you here? Are you able to speak to this item?
I am, and also Pete Warren is the 617 area code number that's on there as well. So
I'm gonna add him as co-host. Pete, you should be able to unmute yourself at least from your phone if you want.
are y'all able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the extension on the permit, I mean, let's go ahead and go with the 1-year extension. I believe in my email I stated a 6-month, but a 1 year does make better sense because if we don't get the grass stabilized before winter time, then we have next year to next spring to work on it a little bit harder. But I don't anticipate us having an issue with the grass growing as long as we can get started on it here in the next few weeks, or at least the next month or so. As far as the dewatering plan, Cassie, what I did send over to you is the plan for us to get the water off site in the most economical way and capture as much of that standing water as possible. So it would, I believe we had talked about it before, extending it up into the array a little bit. The Google
But do you
photo.
have an image you could show us, a
Yes.
plan?
Just before you do that, I don't know if Pete can unmute himself. It's been a little confusing because I've been communicating with both of you and I don't know to what extent you've been able to reconnect with each other. So, I guess I'm not really sure what the final plan is because I got this document, but in discussions with Pete, it sounded like maybe you were changing the design to incorporate a filter bag, upgrading the site. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm getting towards that part. Yes, ma'am. So, let's see, get over to share. There it is. You guys able to see the Google Earth shot here?
Yeah, are you able to make it a bit larger, please?
That help any?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So with the Google Earth, it's not to scale. A lot of this is going to be kind of a red line design. Because once we get out there and start shooting the elevations, we'll be able to know exactly how this line is going to transition. The green arrows are the natural flow as it falls right now, currently. The red arrow is the trench line that we had proposed to cut into the soil and route it towards the rock. The blue swirly lines down at the bottom represents the riprap rock that we want to filter all of this material or all of this water out through as a permanent BMP to be established inside of our security fence, inside of our LODs. It will slow down that the velocity along with some of the check dams that we're going to have in this trench to control the velocity of that water movement. There's not much fall, so the water's not going to move very fast, so we don't anticipate any sediment being transported downstream.
So this piece, the final condition, that's already been approved by the commission. The real question is just that currently there is water standing there in the area of where you'd want to disturb the soil to achieve this. Just for clarification.
Thank you.
Correct. And then, with the water that is still on site, has it not evaporated or soaked through, percolated through like normal, the anticipation is to pump into a discharge line through filter fabric or filter sacks, push it up gradient so that it can fall back and clean itself out and move downstream once we get that channel installed and get the BMPs in place.
So where are you proposing to put the filter bag?
Right now, water is standing. I don't know how well you can see the cursor in the hand.
You can see it.
Sorry, I'm running remote on a different computer. I've got my new one coming in tomorrow, but yeah, the water's kind of standing up in this area all the way up to the end of this red arrow. We're anticipating filter bagging it and sending it up gradient so that it falls through the vegetation and slows the velocity naturally as it gets back into the channel. We just want to kind of push it along and get it moving.
So aren't you going to be just putting the water right back in the path of where you're trying to do construction?
Typically not, no. It's going to route itself because we're going to have part of this installed up to the point to where the high point is that's holding the water back. So we'll get this cut up to where we can get past that and the natural fall falls in.
So where is the extent of standing water that's problematic for you?
It's around this area right here.
Okay, I think I'm following now.
Let's see if I can kind of design that area a little bit here. Sorry, again, I don't have my normal computer with me. The water is typically standing in this area right here where the blue line is.
So you're saying you're going to build the part below down gradient of the blue line.
That's correct.
And then pump from above it up
Yes.
towards the green arrows to the top of the screen and let it flow back into the already built portion.
That's correct. Yes. Once the BMPs are in place.
Okay. And all of this is happening in amongst already installed panels, correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Questions, comments?
Sounds fine to me, I guess.
I think this is raising.
We went out there and we looked at it a few weeks ago.
No issues, no concerns.
I don't think so.
My only main concerns are just like managing it, yeah, so that it doesn't cause erosion.
Erosion.
Where we've seen it in the past with
Yeah,
that
right.
issue, and it sounds like this would be a good way to capture and make it slowly go. As far as I can tell, so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Are we okay approving?
I do have someone here has a question and then someone online has a question. If the commission wants to open up for public comments.
Okay, we
Okay.
can take public comment.
Do you want to do online first or in person first?
Go ahead.
I think the person that's online is in the neighborhood, so they may ask the same question I have with more knowledge.
So you want them to go first?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Hold on just a second. I'll make it so you can do that, Patty. Hold on. Okay, you now can unmute yourself if you'd like to.
Okay, thank you. My name is Patty Cavalli. I actually bought this solar farm, and my husband and I had many serious concerns, and we came to many of your meetings with these concerns about this water runoff and with these issues with excessive water. And we were told that this wasn't happening. My property has been wet since you allowed the installation of these solar panels. So have you evaluated the surrounding areas along? We're having the same issue that they're having on the solar. So when you drain off this water, I know you're saying it's going to drain to that stream. We abut that stream and goes into our yard. So have you really looked at all of the surrounding area? Because our concerns we were guaranteed that we weren't going to have issues. And now you're telling me they're having issues on the solar area and we're having issues. So I think our concerns are coming. So are you looking at surrounding areas also?
For our work, can't say that I have. I know the owners have been looking into it.
What owners? The solar owners?
But I can't say we have. Yeah, the owner.
The owner of the solar company?
Yes. Yes. He's online as well now.
Oh, are they going out and talking to us? Because we haven't been approached at all. I'm trying to stay calm, but we came to so many of your meetings and we were so concerned about this water because our point was when they put this in and we were told we were out of our minds. If you put a pillar down, you are disrupting water runoff. That water, that earth where that pillar was, cannot absorb water. So that water has to go somewhere. But we were told that wasn't true. Well, I think it is true.
We're living proof.
Okay, understandable. I'm going to.
I wish someone from the commission would come. The city council came to our backyard when this, and we were told our house.
The water's all drained off.
No, it's not drained off. No, we've got a load of water. It's not as bad, but the groundwater is very high. Our water table is high. We have a patch in our backyard that's soaked, hasn't dried.
What, if I can, what is your address?
It's 10 Maxine Circle.
We could look at an image of Mass Mapper to see where that is in relation to this part of the property, if that's helpful.
Cassie, will you unmute the 617 area code? That's Pete Warren. He wants to speak on the topic.
Okay. I will unmute it. I can't unmute someone else. He has the power to do so. I've made him.
Okay.
Oh, I'll make him open this again. Oops. I don't know why. It's not letting me. Hold on. I have another way of doing this. Okay, Pete, it should let you do that now. I don't know why. I can't unmute you for you because you're on the phone, but I think it's star something to do so.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so, I'm happy to go out there and have a look at the property, but I mean, we haven't changed any of the vegetation. We didn't take any trees out of the site. There was no tree clearing in this job. So nothing that we've done would increase any of the water that's gone to any, like whatever was there before is still there now. We've done nothing to change the flow or to change where the water runs to or anything like that. So, I'm happy to go out there and have a look, and see kind of what's going on. And I don't know if you guys have any pictures of what it looked like from before, but I mean, obviously our site's been holding the water just because we haven't had it's the last probably 3 months we finally had a let up on these torrential rainstorms that we've been having for the past 2 years. So, I mean, that might have something to do with it, but I really don't see how anything on the solar farm changed any of the, changed any kind of water flow, because we haven't changed any vegetation. We haven't denuded a forest. We haven't, we started off with grass fields, and we have the same, we haven't changed anything. So I don't know what our project would have done to increase water flow any place outside of our projects.
It looks like Patty wants to make another comment.
You're saying you didn't change anything, but you installed pillars which took up ground, which that ground would have absorbed groundwater, if I'm not mistaken. So no, you didn't take down trees. You didn't plant the trees you were supposed to. You were supposed to put vegetation, so we weren't supposed to be able to see these panels, and that never happened. So no, you're correct. You didn't take any down and you didn't add any, which maybe if you added them, they maybe would have absorbed some of this water because they need the water to.
Well, if we have trees that are required to be planted, then
Okay,
if they
because you
haven't
know what,
planted, I'll make
it's
sure
not
that they are.
necessary.
But,
It's not necessary. That wasn't anything that I was looking. I wanted to be guaranteed I was very concerned about this water issue that my husband and I both were. We really couldn't grasp how a system of this size was not going to affect the water flow. It didn't make any sense to me then, and it doesn't now. I know you didn't take down trees. I know you didn't change the vegetation, but you took earth. You had to make holes and you put in pillars. I don't know how many pillars does each one of those solar panels have? That's taking up ground that absorbs water. Am I correct or am I wrong?
I mean, I don't know that there's been a study done on that you're talking about a minimal amount of overall footage within that site. So I don't know how you can say that's minimal. I don't know how many.
Excuse me. I need to.
I'm not, all right. I made my point. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I've made my point, but we were concerned then, and I'm even more concerned now. As far as the torrential rains goes, we've lived in this house for over 30 years. We had a hurricane. We've had issues with water, yes, but it usually dries out. I don't know. Maybe I hope you're right. I hope it is the fact that it's the torrential downpours. I hope you are right. But I've talked to some of our other neighbors and they say the same thing. Got some backup in their yards that they've never had. So I don't know.
It may be helpful, if I can, maybe helpful to show where your Patty, where your property is and compared to where the work that they're talking about tonight is related to. So hold on just a second. I'm going to share my screen. This is a tool known as Mass Mapper provided by the state,
Julie,
but it's just a map.
we have complaints before from butters, right?
No.
About
I remember.
So I remember.
I have not yet received complaints, but
the first time
so
we're hearing feedback from the butters about stormwater issues outside.
this is Madison Circle. You can see my cursor. The work is related to an area over here for this stream. My concern was about I have to look at the plans to see exactly where, but the erosion issues that we'd had have been related to leading towards the ground slopes again towards this stream. And I was concerned with the dewatering of this space that's around here, that it would cause erosion towards this stream. So I don't know, I couldn't say 100%, but I don't know that this dewatering plan that we're talking about now, I wouldn't anticipate that it would impact this stream system over here that seems to be the source of majority of what you experience. I know I can see this layer here is where the wetlands, they do come right up at the back of these properties here. And this is quite likely to be not the true extent. The extent is probably greater than what is shown on this map of where it is what.
Could you please turn on the shaded relief layer?
I can do that. Hold on a second.
What's the address we're looking at?
I'm sorry, what was that?
That we're looking at? I'm just trying to see. I can't see the computer, so I just have to pull it up on Google Maps.
10 Maxine Circle.
I'm sorry, say that again?
10, number 10 Max.
I'm getting a lot of reverberate. I can't hear what she's saying.
It's number 10 Maxine Circle.
Okay, thank you.
So here's the shaded relief, which is what we're looking at right now. Just kind of showing, I don't know if this is helpful, but you can kind of see how what this is trying to show is where it slopes down. I can also turn on the topo layers, but again, this side over here is where that it's, you know, kind of a flat area, but you can kind of see where the stream might be through that shaded bit. And then we're dealing with kind of over here is where I was concerned about there being erosion, because from this part of the parcel, it's kind of going that way. Or over here, obviously it does want to go that way on that part of the parcel, but there's kind of two issues here. It sounds like, Patty, you have how that may or may not have impacted water that you're experiencing on your property. Tonight, what we're talking about, because the permit's already been issued, what we're talking about is this one piece of dewatering for some ponding that's happening over here on this side of the property.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about needing to.
We need to continue what we need to talk about, and if you have another comment, we can come back to you. I think to Cassie's point, the work that we're talking about to handle the isolated drainage issue on the west side of the parcel is not related to the issue that the homeowner is talking about. Those are draining in different directions. So let's deal with that piece first. If we're comfortable approving that change, let's get that moving.
Yes.
This is, you know, the permit holder is responsible for ensuring that there are not negative impacts from their project to the resource areas that were not permitted or allowed. So if there are other issues that are happening in changing drainage patterns in ways that we did not approve, and we're hearing that for the first time tonight, that may be a separate thing to talk about. Certainly before the certificate of compliance for the project would be issued. I also think we're hearing that some of the trees that are expected to be planted and are required in the plans have not been installed. So that is a third issue. But again, they're not seeking certificate of compliance at this point. So they're also not responsible for having finished that yet. So those are the three things I think we have to consider. But the most immediate is the request to modify the drainage problem that they're having on site.
As a minor change. Yes.
Right.
Specifically just the dewatering related to that, right?
Right, because we'd already approved the
We
actual,
already approved it.
right.
Yes, we already approved
Yep.
And I'd just like to add one thing that I'm not sure if Matt was able to add to it, but area that we're dewatering is fully stabilized. It's fully grassed. There's no bare earth in this area. So we're going to take the water that's from a fully stabilized area and move it up radiant to another fully stabilized area, which is not as much. The area we're in right now comprised primarily of clay, which is why it's holding that water and it's not draining out. So we are trying to get that water up radiant to another fully vegetated area. In addition to having all the filtration methods that Matt had addressed earlier. So I just wanted to just make the point that we're moving water from one stabilized area to another stabilized area. So.
Okay, thank you.
So Make a motion to approve the dewatering plan as a minor change.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor, Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so you may proceed with the dewatering and construction of the swale as previously approved. To
Thank you.
to Patty's point, hopefully you heard the discussion we just had. Excuse me.
Yes, I did. Yes, thank you.
This is the first that we're hearing about complaints that neighbors feel that they're seeing water actually directed onto their properties. I will say that it has been a very wet season, and it may be that this is not at all related to the solar and simply related to the weather. And that is going to be a hard thing to parse out and understand. So it may be something that we need to watch over time and hope that we get some drier conditions so that we can better understand what's going on. But in the meantime, if there are other people experiencing similar things, we would like to know about it so that we can understand what's happening and consider whether some sort of enforcement action might be in order if there is an impact going on that was not permitted. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. Mhm.
And I'd like to add to that is that, if I don't know that we haven't got any plantings that we have to put in. I'm not sure if they have or have not been done yet. I'll confirm that when I go out next or this week with the guys to do this dewatering work. But I also can say that on that side of that site where we are talking about, we haven't had, and we can go back to look at the third party, the third party reviews. We haven't had any water issues in that area at all throughout the process of the site. We haven't had, silt or water breaches where water point loads and runs out of the site. We haven't had any recorded issues in that whole side of the project. So not that I'm saying it's not our fault. I'm saying I don't believe it's it's any relation to what we've done, but I'll make sure that whatever vegetation that is required to be planted will be taken care of as soon as possible. So.
And again, that's not my issue. And I, to be honest, we can still see the deer. We can still see it. If that vegetation is not
Well,
planted,
Patty,
that's fine. That was
that's
not a
really not up
request
to
we
you. If
really
it was
had. I
approved
think that
as
was
part
just
of the
something.
permit, it needs to be installed.
Okay. I just didn't want you to think that was a complaint on mine. No, mine was just the runoff. I think what's happening on this side is it is draining very well. So you're not finding the issues on the solar. I think it's draining to that stream where the stream just isn't capable of handling the runoff. But I thank you. Thank you for listening. And I'll talk to my neighbors. Absolutely. I haven't come before you because like you, it has been raining a lot. So it wasn't until I heard there was an issue on the other side that I'm like, okay, maybe our fear is coming true. So that's why I haven't voiced it, because yes, we have had a lot of rain. I can't deny that. So, but thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
For the order of conditions.
Right, yes.
Okay,
Thank
make
you.
that over after the business.
Yeah. Keeping track of what we're doing. Do we have a second? Roll call vote. Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
All right, so we will issue a 1-year extension for the permit as well. Patsy will to let you know what the official date for that will be once it's been formalized.
Yeah, I can get that to you as soon as I can.
And
And can we also just
before we
I'll just
conclude,
say, sorry,
did you have a question still, or
And Patty
you're all
was able
set?
to
Okay,
articulate it.
all right, thank you. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
What was that, Pete? Did you have one last thing to ask, or?
Yes, I just wanted to make accurate, Kathy, if you could just email us with the approval for the so I can forward that on to. I think Aaron's on the call, but I wanted to forward it to the owners and the owners reps just to, and our executive leadership team, just to make sure that they're aware that we have both the extension and the approval to proceed, so that I can just put the paper and cover the cover, or, dot the T and cross the I kind of thing.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure I send that to the link, the chain that going that has everybody on it. I'll do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Cassie, are we now returning to agenda
No,
order?
sorry, last
No.
one. 8Q.
For Christ's sake.
Stop.
I have a request to take 8Q out of order.
A motion to take 8-2 out of order.
Second.
All those in favor, Buttrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
Motion carries. This is a compliance update for Tasty Top Development LLC, 9395 and 97 Northampton Street, Mass DEP file number 1510322 for mixed use development. Map 128, lots 112, 113, and 114. Cassie, do you have an update, or are we?
A couple things. So we're doing the pre-construction, approval of the pre-construction items related to this project. And the only ones are the few that the commission had wanted a new submission related to them. There's only a few. So it was the, final construction plan set needed to be updated to include all the stockpile locations. That was received. And the dewatering plan, we asked for a typical, a plan showing where they wanted to put the filter bags, only associated with the crossing and all the basins.
Yep.
And then also for a typical of what that setup would look like. That was received. And then I can give an update on the RFP process. Though we don't anticipate answers until the meeting of the next commission meeting. So Brian is here. If you want to give an update on that, I will hand it to you all.
Brian, would you please walk us through and show us the filter bag location in detail for those who maybe have not had a chance to look at it? Thanks.
Really getting the money, your money's worth out of that folder there, Cass.
God, I know.
Everybody see my screen?
Yes, it's rather small. I don't know, Cassie, if you can enlarge it, Brian needs to.
Brian needs to.
I'll zoom in as I work around it, but so I'll start with the typical detail. It's a traditional filter bag. Details of the pump discharge hose coming in, stakes down, filter bags to be set on fabric if it's not on a vegetated area. Some specs on flow rates, etc., that bag needs to meet. And then I have kind of a typical location for how where it would be located if it were to be needed in each of the instances where we were asked at the last meeting. So for example, if this filter bag needed to be if this basin needed to be dewatered, a pump would be placed in the basin. It would pump upgrading away from the resource area to the filter bag, and it would then sheet flow across the site to the erosion control barriers. So you'll see there's a location for each of the detention basins. And then we have one for each side of the bridge crossing. And I try to locate them in, in logical locations outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. I think they're all reasonable locations because a lot of the detention, all of the stormwater management is going to be installed early on in the project before most of the permanent infrastructure is in place. So it wouldn't be out of the question to have the filter bags next to this building, for example, or on the pavement edge here. So that was our thought process there.
Brian, basin F3, it looks like the filter bag is very close to the edge of the basin. Is there a reason why that was the location selected?
Yeah, because the natural grade or the existing topography in the background would actually send the water towards the erosion control barriers and towards the downstream runoff. It wouldn't short cycle back into the basin. Like it kind of looks like it would, but the existing topography would shed it away from the basin.
And what is the distance between those bags and the wetland line? The one
Everything's outside of the 100-foot buffer.
That wasn't my question. Can you please tell me the distance?
Between each filter bag and the wetland line?
The ones at F3 and F2?
This is 100 feet right here, so I'm gonna guess they're between 105 and 110 feet.
And how far from the top of the steep slope there?
50 plus feet.
Is there a reason why F3 couldn't be pumped to the other side of that building? To be substantially farther away from the slope and wetlands?
I think I could flip it around and put it more in this location here. Because the natural topography would push it towards the rear of the site at that point.
Okay. I think that would be preferable. Is there similarly a different location for F2 that would get it further away from the wetlands and the slope?
I can put it up on this high ridge here.
Great. I think that would be better.
Okay.
I was trying to give an opportunity not to end up right back in the basin. That was my logic with it. So putting it in this area, there's potential where it does short cycle and goes back into the basin. I think that could be mitigated with some temporary grading if needed.
Okay, that sounds good. Because my primary concern is making sure that it doesn't wind up eroding the slope and causing a wetlands violation. So I would prefer to see some temporary grading if necessary than have to deal with another situation we've been dealing with at Loudville.
Understood. F2 and F3.
And then let's take a closer look at the ones associated with the culvert. If you could zoom in a bit.
So this is for the first side of the crossing here. This one will get discharged into a relatively flat location. And then this is the other side of the crossing. Based on our conversation we just had, I would assume we want to relocate this one a little further away as well.
Yeah, I think that would be preferable. I'm a little bit, in some ways, a little bit less concerned with these ones because we're not, with the basins, we're talking about potentially dewatering a substantial amount of water that's going to be heavily laden with sediment. With the culvert, we're really talking about just a sort of a emergency backup to pump water out of your small excavations for the footings. So I think we're going to be dealing with a lot less water, but yes, if you could push those further back, that would be preferable.
Okay, I might as well update it while we're making the changes.
Great. Sounds good. Any other comments from the commission?
Could the commission, are you interested in approving this with the understanding that those changes will be made, or do you want to see it again in another meeting before you approve it?
I would be comfortable giving you the authority to approve based on those changes if everyone else is good with that.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. And then were there any questions? Does the commission want to look more closely at the stockpile plan? Did you have any comments on it, Cassie?
I didn't have any comments on it. I don't know if you want Brian to do a little overview, but otherwise I'd. Yeah.
Could you do an overview, please, Brian, of the stockpiling plan as well?
We can see my screen again?
Yes.
So we had our sediment, I put it on the erosion and sediment control plan. That was broken up by phases. This was the original stockpile location that was shown. And in error, we didn't include more locations for the subsequent phases. So I have stockpile location shown here for the small portion of phase 3. Oops. And then as we go to the rear site, there's stockpile locations that are up in the greenscape area, and also essentially as far away from some of the steep slopes and the resource areas that we can logically put them. And then the same thing for the phases in the former driving range. We have them located in areas of grass, so they can stay where they need to stay for the duration of the new site prep work.
I don't have any concerns with those comments from the commission.
Okay.
Okay. We're good with that.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think those were the only two that had new items related to it. Just as a note, for the performance bond, we're still waiting for the actual final signed bond for when they actually get closer to work, which makes sense. And they understand that it's their responsibility to keep that updated as needed. And the other item is the NEPA status. It sounds like you were thinking in August you might get the final certificate. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. So we don't have that yet, but
We expect it by August 2nd, I believe is the date.
And then the last thing is establishing the commission's consultant for the monitoring during construction. And so just as a quick update, I have issued that RFP based off of the corrections you guys wanted me to incorporate. I've solicited 13 different firms. I've heard back from 4 of them that they confirming that they do plan to submit. Hopefully they will actually do that. And then I've gotten maybes from 3 others. And then the rest have denied. So kind of just waiting, still well within the period that I would expect to not have received any yet. The due date is June 20th, and I will share that with you all as soon as I get them, and with the party because you can submit comments on them, Brian. It is the commission's discretion on which one they choose. Oh, wow.
Right.
Thank you, Kathy.
All
right.
Do we need to take formal action on that?
No, I think you've approved both. Yep, I'll put that in the minutes. And so the next step for the project is to establish all the on-site conditions, pre-construction conditions, and those will be confirmed at a pre-construction meeting on site. And so they're not quite at the place where they're ready to get started, but certainly all the paperwork elements have been completed.
Do you have any sense, Brian, of when that on-site pre-con meeting is likely to be? Ballpark?
If everything goes according to plan, I would say it will be in August.
Cassie, remind me when you're leaving.
August.
First. Okay. All right. Brian, please keep us apprised as you get closer to that and have a sense of when it will be, because that is likely to require some significant coordination depending on whether we have a new agent in place.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you have any further questions this evening?
I do not.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Great to ask, Cassie.
Public concerns.
Yeah, we're going back to item 4A actually. Oh no, excuse me, 4B.
Okay. The 4B was a public hearing continued from 12/11/2023 for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by GZA Geo Environmental on behalf of Crown Meadow Corporation at Holly Circle and Crestview Drive, map 166, lots 75 through 80, 83 through 89, and map 171, lots 14-1, 14-2, 15 through 22, and 25 through 29. This was a request filed on 12/4/2023, Mass DEP file number 1510327. And we had been requested on 12/11/2023 to continue this to the 6/10 meeting. I don't believe that we have heard anything.
We did today.
We did.
So I got an
Okay.
email earlier today, and they requested that the commission consider continuing the matter to August 26th meeting. And they said they're still collecting supporting data in this letter that they sent me. And I responded to them, like confirming that I got their request, and reiterated to them that they needed to redo the abutter notifications. 1, because so much time had passed,
Right.
but 2, because there seemed to be potentially an error in when they were originally issued. So they need to redo that and confirm that it was sent to everybody that needed to get to.
Okay.
And the last piece is that, oh God, what was it? They do not have to redo the legal advertisement. That was in the commission already determined. They don't
Okay.
have to require. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so can we have a motion to continue to August 26th?
Motion to continue August 26th at 6 PM.
Do we have, excellent, Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Week?
Aye.
Carr? Motion carries, so this will get moved on the agenda to August 26th. Cassie, when you update that, would you please add back in the notes regarding the need to update the abutter notifications so we don't forget to check that?
Do you want it on the agenda?
Yes,
I can do that.
that'd be great. All right. I'll give you a second.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay.
All right, moving on to certificates of compliance. Letter A for the City of Easthampton pump house demolition activities, Mass DEP file number 151302. Have we received the information we're waiting for?
Not yet. My goal is next meeting though.
Okay.
It's a partner with the city engineer. to
All
read
right,
out the
so
new
no
stuff.
action on that tonight. We already covered the other one. Enforcement actions, we've already talked about Loudville. Any updates on the other items?
The only one I wanted to give a quick update on was for an A 37 South Street. I emailed them and left a message with like their secretary or something. I haven't heard back yet. Another thing the commission could consider doing, which I could prepare for the next meeting, is looking at aerial imagery. We've been using a program called Near Map to have much more current aerial imagery and of higher quality. So we can try to look at that just in lieu of before I'm able to establish contact with them. I'm gonna still try. I'm gonna reach out to them again, but might be another way to approach it. If we can't do a site visit yet.
What is that? What was the issue here that we're trying to
get
back in touch with?
Basically, there was a couple things that happened within the 200-foot riverfront area back in 2013. The mitigation that was agreed upon about related to this was a long man-made pond related to a dam that existed, and also was a series of plantings in another section of the property. And so I can give better detail of what we were looking for in those spaces.
You and Jay, you must have been on the commission for this.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have memories of this? Do you know what we're talking about?
Burning bush.
And there was Burning Bush. I
Burning
went
bush.
through all minutes and wrote myself, which made sense to me, a summary of it, but I think I need to just reword it, make more sense to everybody else.
Okay.
Normal humans, so I will do that.
Burning bushes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll plan for that next meeting.
Get
It
rid of
makes
the
sense.
pile.
That'd be great.
Get rid of the piles, get rid of the burning bushes.
Great.
I don't remember if they got rid of the burning bushes and planted something else, and we just need to make sure that something else.
I don't know if we ever got back out there. There's a tree of heaven there also that we kind of didn't want.
Okay. So Cassie's gonna get us some more information and we'll revisit it next time. No other enforcement updates?
I know, I don't have.
All right, open space updates. Anything on Echo Dale?
No updates. I'm still
Anything?
trying to reach out to them.
Can I interrupt the
Yes.
Echo deal? The CPA committee is asking for updates on programs like Echo Dale and where we stand as far as, because there's money assigned
Yeah.
and they're trying to, if money's been given to somebody, they're trying to pull money back that's not being used. And if we need the money again, we can ask for it again, but the company that we've been dealing with kind of fell off the earth and,
Yeah.
So I don't know where we stand with that.
It is a bit concerning. I don't really know how to proceed if I can't reach
Right.
establish contact
Right.
with them.
Right.
I got a person's email from the woman who was managing our project for who's no longer with that company. So I have that email and reached out to them, didn't get a response. I've also called like the
Who's the
general
original
law,
person?
Jessica Ashlin, I say. I was getting confused.
And that,
with
I mean,
Jessica.
that's original, like 3 people after the real original.
Yes,
Yeah.
the most recent, and we made a lot of
Yeah.
progress with her, which was
Right.
great. But
And what was the name of the company?
landscape
Landscape Stewardship.
Stewardship,
Land Stewardship.
yeah, landscape stewardship Inc.
Is it it's just land stewardship, I think.
Land stewardship, yeah, excuse me, and the often referred to as Melissa.
The amount of money we got in the first place was not that.
No,
big
no.
By today's standards.
Right.
It looks minuscule, probably. It's a.
When there's 5 cents in the budget right now for open space, $5,000 is a lot, I guess, so.
Gotcha. Cassie, we have a signed active contract with them, right?
Yes,
That
yes.
in theory we have to pay at some point.
Yes.
So I don't think we can give the money back, Jay.
No, I just want to report. They
yeah,
want, they want someone to report on all these line items and say,
Yeah.
okay, where do we stand? So I just want to
Right.
make sure I tell the
Right.
right story.
Um,
Yeah.
Open
Looks like
space has 15 cents in the
it,
budget.
it would,
Not joking.
So we're
Like
probably,
the budget that's being approved by city council?
No, this is
Or
what
the-
CPA money that's available. We've given away everything but 15 cents.
I see.
For various projects. So projects that aren't being acted on, we're trying to say, okay, can we bring this money back in and do things with it?
Gotcha.
so I mean, we're probably paid up on what we owe,
I'm
like,
sure.
on that contract, but finding another firm to take over for the dollars that is probably gonna be impossible.
Right.
I have to say, I haven't even got an invoice yet. I mean, the work they did.
Oh,
It's
really?
kind of confusing. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird.
We've had this problem with them before.
Mhm.
When they're paying attention, they do good work, but they do not know how to run a business.
Okay.
That's what we've learned over many years now.
Well, what I
I
can do.
think it would be worth, Cassie, if you could make a few minutes to read through the contract and see if there are any provisions in there that would explain how we would get out of our contract. And just so we have that information and then persist again in trying to reach them. Is the owner still the same person?
I don't know. I don't know.
It used to be Jeff Politan, right? This is his company. Chris Politan.
It's okay.
You could try finding him and reaching out to him directly. Okay.
I think Lathrop is still trying to deal with them and they're having
Same
similar
issues.
communication.
I think everybody
issues.
has these issues with them.
Okay. I will do that. I will do all those things and report back next week.
Okay, thank you. Anything on 385 Main?
No updates.
Okay. And that's the one we're just waiting for them. That's the joint restriction, right?
That's kind of in their court now.
Yep. All right, compliance updates. We've done several. Are there other projects we need to discuss?
Only I'm just gonna note that Due Drive Ferry Street has expired, that permit, the expiration date, or it's going to expire on the 15th, but they've missed the deadline to request it, even though I reached out to them.
Which letter is
So this
that?
is letter, should be letter M. Yeah, no, excuse me, on this, it is going to be, I think I already took it off the agenda.
Okay.
Because it's expired, so.
Great.
In order of conditions for,
All right.
family home.
So if we hear of anything happening at Duda Street, it is not under permit anymore.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And then the only other update I had, nothing else for projects, existing projects, ready for general business.
All right, general business meeting minutes. Are we prepared to approve May 6th and May 20th?
I have received comments from Sarah and Deb reviewing the minutes from the 20th. And then the ones from May, I didn't receive any comments for that one, so it's looks good to you guys. And
I sent you minor typos.
for the 6th.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
after that other.
Oh, sorry. So I'll incorporate this. Okay. Yeah.
And I read them and they look good.
Yeah.
Move that we approve minutes with corrections as noted by Sarah and Deb.
Sarah, second. All those in favor, Patrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
So moved. Agent updates, Cassie?
Yes, so, quickly, I know it's late, but I did want to give this update. So I spoke to the HR about the concerns the commission had by, they're separating the position out just to review. They were going to create two positions, the conservation agent, but they had originally proposed reducing it to 20 hours, which still make it benefited, but would be less than full time. Full time at City Hall is 34 hours a week. Which is not open on premise.
Yep.
They were also going to create a sustainability coordinator position, which I think is very important to unmarry those responsibilities from the agent, which
Okay.
clogged up a lot of things for me.
Sure.
So I think that was a big win. What they've come back and said is that they've been able to figure out how to increase the hours for the agent position to 30 hours. So it's only 4 hours under full. But the way that we did that was to give responsibility to the CPA, to the conservation agent. Does that seem potentially appropriate considering what the nature of a lot of the projects are open space
Sorry, to
related?
give responsibility to what?
The content, the PA meetings. Yep.
Might get fired.
You know,
Oh, no, Jay, I think you'll still get to do all the things you already do.
This is really good.
I think this is really good.
So Community Preservation Act, right now it's Jamie, the senior planner, manages that. And so it would come away from the senior planner and go to the conservation agent, which I do not think would be a big barrier to the agent completing their duties. And then I would, whoever their replacement would be, like, you should advocate for getting your hours increased in the future. There may be grant opportunities, there may be ways to do that.
Yes, do you know Jamie gave her notice?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yep. So,
Highly, highly unfortunate.
Yes,
agreed.
with everything else that's going on.
Yeah, very much
Well,
agreed.
regardless.
Yeah.
Losing Jamie is a
Yes.
significant loss for
Yes.
the city.
Absolutely. And But it would be nice to, because now the agent position hopefully will be posted soon. That's my hope, is that they will finalize the job description. That's kind of what we're waiting on now. Once I get the okay from HR, they have finalized it and they said it's cool. I will have it be posted on MACC, NSMCP. Mark Simpson said he'd be willing to shop it out for us to people that he knows are looking. And obviously you post on the city website and wherever else they think could be appropriate to do so. The hope being that we could even have them come on part-time before I leave, if we could find someone.
Yeah.
Maybe for a week or two.
That would be great.
That's what we're gonna shoot for. That's like the ideal.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I don't have any other updates for my goals unless anyone wants me to change any of them, but basically still working through all these other things.
Sounds good.
Unless your goal is to stay.
No.
So Cassie, do we know when that's gonna get posted?
No, and that's what I've kind of just been hounding her about it.
7 weeks.
Yep. My proposed last day would be August 1st.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We could do a sit-in.
do a what?
A sit-in.
All right.
Sit down. I've got one thing that's, I don't think it's on the agenda, but I think it was George Boucher who was in here on the 6th about 282 Loudville's, people digging around and doing, making things unstable. He's saying that's still going on. Someone's like digging for.
Did he talk to you?
He talked to me, yes.
Oh, okay.
Cultural chaos, so.
Oh, okay.
Where?
It's 282 Loudville, I think is the location of the,
Oh, that's the,
it's an old dump site. It's not new dumping. It's just old stuff, maybe from the 20s or 30s or whatever. But somebody's in there digging, he thinks looking for bottles or something like that. And making things unstable. So I just said I'd bring it up and.
I know, I meant to set up a site visit for myself to go
So
there.
if you set up a site, but I have not been there. I can go look at it with you.
Yeah. Site of a large housing development going in there. Determined to be.
yeah, it's that address, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And again, it is an issue of even if there is someone doing that, I'm not sure what the best way to pursue enforcement is. Though the new property owner could put up signs being like, no trespassing, like don't do this here.
Right.
But what was good is that it's not like they're excavating out there. That's what I was worried about. Is
Like it's all handwork, but still.
Yeah,
Neighbors are concerned.
worth a visit.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, wetlands ordinance discussion. We do have a meeting scheduled for the working group tomorrow evening at 6, I believe.
Yes, and I'm still waiting. I'm still working on my little big draft, before that. So I don't really have other updates.
Okay. So, as usual, we'll update you on that when we have something more concrete. Is there anything else? Any other new business?
Hope not.
I also do not. Yeah, all right.
Nothing.
And we're ready to make a motion to adjourn.
What to do with her?
Second.
All those in favor, Buttrick? Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Right.
It's 8:37 and we are concluding the June 10th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Our next meeting will be June 24th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.